Hi, I'm Donna Dewberry, the original creator of the FolkArt One Stroke painting technique. Today, I want to welcome you into Plaid's Let's Paint Studio. And we're going to be doing an oval wreath full of poppies and sprigs of fall colors, which will be perfect for your home for the month of October. The Let's Paint FolkArt One Stroke Wreath of the Month is a program where we're going to be teaching you fun, exciting, educational lessons where you're going to learn how to paint a wreath for every month of the year. So Plaid's made it really easy for you too, because they made these great wreath shapes. And what's going to happen with these is that they already have pre-drilled holes so that you can hang them. This one can be this way or this way. We also have a square wreath which will go on a diamond, and we have a round wreath. It's birch plywood, it's wonderful to paint on, and we also have something very special that Plaid's made for us, and that's the Let's Paint Wreath of the Month kit. And in that kit, you have luscious FolkArt multi-surface paint, which does what the name says. It paints on multiple surfaces, where we can use them on all of our wreaths. We also have a treasure gold paint that's inside for adding to our wreaths. And we have the FolkArt One Stroke painter sponges and our 10-piece brush set. We also have 12 teaching guides where you have stroke work that you practice right on top of, wipe it off, and practice again. So it's going to be like you have the teacher at home with you. I also would like to invite you to our painting community, which is on Facebook, and it's Let's Paint with Plaid. So are you ready to go paint your wreath? I am, so let's go and let's paint. I'm thrilled to show you October's wreath and all the beautiful colors we're going to see in October. Pretty leaves, bright poppies, and little flowers to give it some white. When we're doing this wreath, you might be a beginner or a seasoned painter. What I'm going to do is do step by step with you from the back of the wreath that we're painting all the way and bring the design forward and show you how easy that can be. The first thing I'm going to do is put in our wreath and then decide how to decorate our wreath. So I think it's going to be fun for you. Actually, I know you're going to like what you're going to learn. So the first thing I'm going to do is put the wreath over to the side so we can sit here and be watching the steps we're going to do. What I want to share with you about the birch wreath is that I wanted to put a nice base coat of any neutral color that you have, and you're going to put a coat on. It's going to raise the grain as it dries. Then I want you to take a sanding block and lightly sand the top of it and get all the raised wood. And so now this is nice and smooth, but I did put a second coat. It's going to be a nice coat on there. And there's a sealer, remember, in our FolkArt multi-surface paint, so that makes it really nice. Now, I have this ready so that when it's smooth, I want you to know why that you need to make that happen, is that then when I'm doing my brush strokes, they're going to be really nice and smooth too and not see a lot of texture. So what I'm going to share with you first is that we're going to take our worksheet, the teaching guide, and on here we're going to talk about the background. And you can use my painter's sponge, or you can use a 3/4 inch flat brush that we're using as we're painting. Now this shows you the colors that I'm going to use, the wicker white and the sap green we're going to put on here. And so what happens is I'm slip slapping the sponge or the 3/4 inch flat brush. All right, so let's go and get our paints. So I've got them all here ready. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my fingers, guys, and put a little bit of water across here. Do not saturate the sponge because it's not going to make your base coating look well. All right, so we're going to pick up our sap green. It looks pretty black there, but it is a pretty green. And the white's going to give you that color. So we picked up sap, then we picked up wicker white. All right, sap green and wicker white, and that's what we're doing the whole background. Now I'm going to start. You can take and make movements like this around. All right, and see that you're going to need a little bit more of your sap green. And so see, I can just make slip, slap with the sponge. With the paintbrush, you're slapping side to side. But see the movement that you're going to get in the background? So I'm going to go all the way around this way. I also like to do my edges, but I'm not going to do them for the sake of not getting them all over the table right now, so that you can see this happening. Now I can continue to go around. I did a little bit lighter on the edges. But this to me gives a nicer look than just a flat, solid color, all right? Now what happens after this dries, with the sealer in it, I'm gonna have a nice smooth surface that makes it really nice to paint on. So what I want you to concentrate on at this point is right here in the middle needs to look like you want it to look, knowing that it's gonna show. All right, all of this around the edges will have grapevine and leaves and different subject matter along there. Okay, back and forth, back and forth. We're almost there. See how I keep picking up? Now I'm going to focus on the center again, making sure that I've got that like I want it. All right. So I almost have enough, but don't starve the sponge. I was going to try to make it, but it really needs a little bit more. So I don't want you sponging on here and keep moving it till you go down to the base coated color, because it will leave a bad spot. It'll pick up where it started drying. Okay? There we go. So see, that was pretty fun, but it gives movement. I like that movement. Now I'm gonna fold this in half and put it down in my little cubby in my water basin so that it doesn't dry out while we're working. All right? So I'm gonna pick up my double loader, and I have the paints all out here ready for us. Now, what I've done is I put my floating medium inside the center of the double loader. This double loader is going to help me load my colors so that we keep a rich blend instead of a muddy blend. So let's go over what colors I'm going to use first. So inside the wreath area, I'm going to use the burnt umber and the wicker white. So next to that, I put Pueblo, and then I've come over to the other side where I might use a little bit of yellow ochre in this blend. And then later we're going to do some flowers that are going to have some of the apple red and the this is moon yellow. Yeah, there we go. So I'm going to put this here, and I'm going to kind of decide how wide. I've got it like 4 fingers wide is how wide I want the wreath, and I only went up about to right here, right almost to these 2 holes where we're going to put our ribbon. So if you just come in here, that's the area that we're going to work on. So we're going to use our 3/4 inch brush. We wet it first. We lay it on the paper towel to let the excess water go out. All these things about taking out the water, how much medium, the floating medium to put on your brush, those are the things I want you to pay attention to as I'm painting and go, oh, she went in the water again. Oh, she picked up medium. And so that you'll know that's what you're supposed to do. And remember, as you watch the video, you can stop and start and come back again and see steps that are going to be important for you that you might have missed the first time. All right, so I'm going to pick up the 2 colors, all right, burnt umber and wicker white. I'm going to come over here quickly, back and forth with pressure to make it blend and go inside the bristles, okay? So I'm going to pick up again. See, I split the bristles there. And this is kind of controlling you so you don't make a muddy mess. All right, so I'm going to pick up a little bit more burnt umber. So look at this. Instead of half and half, I want you to see that I can go 1/3 white, 2/3 burnt umber. All right, wicker white and burnt umber. And maybe I just want a little bit of white because I don't want much white showing. Okay, now this time I'm not putting so much pressure, all right? And I'm gonna go ahead on the white, the wicker white edge, and pick up Pueblo. There we go. There we go. Okay, so let's get our teaching guide and let's remind ourselves how this little vines to make your grapevine is going to look. So what you're going to do also with the number 12 flat is practice this and see the blend that I got here. This was straight burnt umber and pueblo, but what I want you to know, as I started painting, I picked up these other shades. All right, so even yellow ochre sometimes. So we're going to paint on that, wipe it off, and paint again till we feel comfortable with this movement. So I'm going to show you that I'm up on the chisel edge. This is your chisel. I'm going to lead with the lighter color. All right. And see, I can move in and out, around. All right. So at first, you might want to just do short movements like this. Now, when you're coming all the way around, I want you to kind of lay out what we're going to do here. And then I'm going to keep picking up. I can still pick up from right here. And we're going to end up over here. So I'm going to take the wreath and build it like it's all coming this way. All right, this is dry enough. I can lay this here now. Okay, now I'm going to keep picking up the colors that I might need, and at this point I still don't need medium, but I want this to feel like smooth like butter. So if it goes on really smooth, that's good. And I don't want each one to wind into each other. It looks more natural if you come in here and have short ones, just like they would, like when you're growing a vine, they don't all start at the root, they come off of these branches. And the second thing I want to share with you is I'm not pushing down very hard. See, I'm going to dip both of these colors. I'm staying up on the chisel, so let's, every once in a while, let's do some heavier ones. Not too heavy, don't get carried away, we don't want to branch. But I'm just going to put down a little bit heavier area in here. And then have all the lacy light ones laying on top. So after I put two around here, then I'm going to come back and we're just going to keep working. See how I can come back in here, look, and pick up the two colors, go back and forth here. See how that blends it a little bit? And my little finger's helping me. See that little finger's keeping me up? Now, the other thing I like to share with you is you can take your little finger and pull your stroke, hold this brush steady in my hand, and pull my little finger. You have to practice that with water. I like sit on the countertop and just try pulling this, or a piece of plastic, to see if I get that feel. All right, so see, that's looking like I want it to look right there. Okay, there we go. So that's what you want to see. See right in here, that's what we're going to see. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my chalk. Let's wash out our brush. It's great to watch the class first, the lesson, and then go back and start doing it. And then as you're doing it, you're going, wait a minute, what'd she do there? And go back and watch the video again, and it'll show you, remind you. All right, so let's take our chalk and let's lay out what our design's going to be. So the first thing I'm going to do on here is decide I want the big poppy, and I kind of look at how close I did to the edge, so sometimes I can show extra flowers above it, and that's going to help you lay out that design. And I'm just getting the size, so you want to have your fingers going here and have the size being large enough, and so then I'm going to have two more. So one of them can be smaller, and I'm just laying out the half one here so you'll know where to add the leaves that we're going to be adding. All right, so I have one here. I have a piece of a bud here, very small, and then a really little one over here. Move that chalk so you don't see it. And there's going to be down right below the hole, let's put another little bud. All right? Now what's going to happen now is the important thing that I want to put down before I do the flowers are some of these large fall leaves. And the one leaf that I like is where it goes in and out like this. All right, and then right off of here, I came in this way. So if you put, when you're doing this, if you put your center stem first, then I like to just look at a bunch of different maple leaves, fall leaves, and get shapes that I like because they're all different shapes. All right, and then right off of this one, I'm going to have, this is the center stem, remember? Now, there's some of these leaves are smaller and then get bigger at the tip. See, it's a little bit comes in and then it gets larger. I've seen lots of those. And then I put a really big one down here. So I'm going to come here. I'll wipe off some of that paint. And I went way, oh, this is pretty close. I think I'm going to take the beauty about doing it this way is that you can change your mind here without paint. Okay. Now why I changed that is I realized this leaf, I don't want it touching. So I'm going to come down here. Now, if you say, well, why did I paint my wreath and now I'm going to cover the wreath with some of the leaf, is that I'd a whole lot rather have this underneath just in case little bits of it are going to peep out. It's easier to do it this way. Okay? So I think that's enough chalking to get us going. So the first thing I want to do is bring our worksheet over and let's look at the leaves that we're going to do because those leaves, like I said, need to be underneath the flower. And the first thing I want to do is the fall oak leaf. And I am going to use a 3/4 flat on my project, but I'm going to practice so that we can fit the leaf on here. I wanted to practice with a 12 flat. So I'm wetting it, I'm laying it on a paper towel, and then let's load it. Now you can see right here, we loaded this with burnt umber and yellow ochre. So I'm going to dip the corner into yellow ochre and burnt umber, and I'm going to come over here and just work it in. All right, and you'll see with all my leaves, I will continue to pick up different shades so that no leaf looks exactly alike. You're going to get nice colors. All right, so the deal is what you want to do first is I make an eraser, okay, a paper towel eraser. I wet a corner of it so that you can wipe it off quickly and not let it dry because it does have a sealer in it, remember? And I'm going to stroke here to see if it's looking the color that I want it to look, okay? So I'm going to wipe that off with our handy eraser and I'm going to start doing this leaf. So I'm going to slide up and down, up and down, and slide back to the middle each time to the center stem. That's going to be in that leaf, and it's going smoothly on here, but when you're on your surface, you'll watch me. I'll probably have to pick up a couple times along the way. Now I'm going to pick up some Pueblo and some burnt umber this time, and bring a little bit of that in, and you can practice to see if it's going to look right there. And I'm going to come right along here. Now I don't want to be standing up on the chisel. I'm going to push the brush half sprung, halfway down. So I'm going to go look at the dark brown. I'm going to follow it, and right here I even flipped the brush and brought some light yellow ochre showing. Now, it's a little messy in the middle, but all you do is pull your stem in there and it cleans that all up, okay? So that's all you have to do. We're going to practice a couple times till you feel comfortable, and then I want you to wipe it off before you start painting your project, okay? So we just come in here and wipe it off with our little eraser, all right? And so that's going to help you, but leave it so you're looking at it as you're stroking, all right? And then I've taken my 3/4, which was all dry and ready for me, and now I'm going to paint a few of these leaves. So what's going to happen, you might, if it's small, might want to use your number 12, but most of these that I'm doing right now, I use a 3/4. Now I'm going to come in here and use the yellow ochre, burnt umber, and I'm gonna just go back and forth and get it nice and loaded into the bristles. Then I'm gonna pick up more and then not push so hard this time. All right, and I am gonna pick up a little Pueblo on the yellow ochre edge. I like those colors all kind of shading in there as we go. All right, so I'm gonna move this out of the way and let's start right here. Now on this one, I want the light colors to be on the outside edge, but remember, here's your stem in the middle. So I'm gonna, look, not up on the chisel. If you're up on the chisel, you won't cover it. Push down. Now watch the lighter edge. See how I'm following that? That's drawing my leaf. All right. Then I can turn this around and see there's still fresh paint on this side. And I'm going to come back down. I need more paint. I need more of the darker paint, the burnt umber. There's still, in this cubby, there's still the other lighter colors. Okay, so now as I go out here, I'm coming back to the middle. Up and back to the middle. More burnt umber. I use a lot of paint as I'm doing this. See, I can go back there if it's not covering well. All right, and then I'm gonna stand up on the chisel. I'm gonna lead with the burnt umber and put the lighter color on the inside, okay? So now I'm gonna put this right here with the dark, right under here, under this flower. I'm gonna pick up here again. This is the other way. Remember, I can come in here and pick up heavier paint. Now I can do a little bit of medium, straight in the medium, just a touch of it, and work that in. All right, so this is the burnt umber and the Pueblo. I'm putting the burnt umber on the outside edge this time. And so you have to be careful with the medium. The medium made the burnt umber a little thin, but I need a little bit in there to move it. The worst case, if it's thinner than you want, you let it dry, and you can come back and go over it one more time. All right, so see all the pretty color that I'm getting in there? A little bit more of Pueblo. All right, and I lightly brush it to blend that in. A little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to flip the brush, and this time I'm leading with the Pueblo edge so the brown shows. Well, when you're in this brown right here, the brown wouldn't have showed as much. I'm going to come here and just pull a little bit of color to smooth that out, and then I want to clean that up. So there again, remember, I had to lead with the brown so that the light color shows in the middle. All right, so these have some different colors in them that are gonna make your painting nice. So I'm gonna go back to the yellow ochre, a little bit of Pueblo, and burnt umber. And I don't wanna go back into the medium. I don't think we need that. So first thing I'm gonna do, and I'm still gonna make this smaller. I got a little carried away, I see on my sizing, but that's okay. I have a couple here, and then I went on this side with a little bit more yellow ochre. See that? See how pretty those bright colors are now? And then now I'm gonna flip the brush right in here, and then let's get the brown, but look, I'm making that way smaller. All right, but remember this needs to go to the middle, and I'm gonna come back over here and kind of see how I kind of blended that in? There we go. Now I'm gonna come back down here. It's always smooth, they don't have pointed edges. I go right into my cubby where it was blending, you see that? All right, Now I do want to smooth that a little bit, and I'm going to add a little bit of yellow ochre, and then watch this. I'm going to stand up and drag that last bit of color right into the center, okay? And it's a different type of oak leaf there. All right, it looks like I got really big on both of these. Let's pick up those colors again. Like I said, you can even put red in your leaves if you want to. I'm going to add a teeny bit of medium, work it in really good. I can use this paint and this paint. So the floating medium helps it move for you, okay? So we're going to come right here. Now I want this one to be wider here and then get smaller. So I'm going to come right in here, and I flip the brush again. Right there. I am using lots of paint. Let's pick up a little bit of yellow ochre, or a lot of yellow ochre. I'm got lots of paint on this brush, guys. Okay, so I'm more worried about this outside edge. And then I can pull, this is a bigger leaf, so I can pull this color in. And when I'm doing that, if I lose my edges that I like there, the colors I like there, I can just come right back now that I've smoothed this and come along here, or I can do that as I go. See this? And then smooth it back to the center. It's because it depends on how big it is. Most sizes you're not going to have to do that. All right. So I like to just sit and go look at pictures of fall leaves and do a whole collection of leaves doing the same type of stroke with a multi-loaded brush. All right, same thing here. Now, I can also add more paint so that you don't see the branches underneath the grapevine, but that's up to you. Then I'm gonna grab, lead with the dark, and pull the stem into the middle. All right? So now that we have these large leaves, let's look at what we're gonna do next. When I'm looking at my painting, I do want some of the dark green leaves to be behind. And those are just basic leaves, and I like them as filler. It's adding some green even though we're on green. So when I'm looking at this basic leaf on my teaching guide, this one I did use a 12, and I did sap green and happy green, plus a touch of white. And you've seen me do that as I'm working on these. So let's pick up some happy green. And actually I need sap green also. So I like a bright green, and I can use that to give a glow to it. And the wicker white just makes it glow even more, especially if we're on this color of green already. So I put a wicker white over on this side, even though I have this over here, because I'm going to be using it with the yellow ochre later. All right, so let's practice again. All right, so when I'm looking at this sheet, it's right here that we're going to work with. And so I'm going to take, let me move this out of the way. I'm going to get, I like to tap the bottom of this so that it flattens out the green a little bit. And there we go. All right, so I'm going to go back and forth and work this in. I feel like I have a little bit of water. If that happens to you, just lay it on the paper towel. You can literally see the water run out if you do have too much water. All right, so back and forth. That's half and half, see, half and half. Now let's pick up a little bit of wicker white on the happy green side. See how that gives a nice glow? Now, when we come to our worksheet, we're gonna practice right on that stroke, and see, it's got the color I want. And I'm gonna have my handy eraser. All right, and I might need to get a new one in a minute. Okay, so now I'm gonna practice this side. So I'm gonna come down, remember, I'm just watching the outside edge. So as I put pressure, then I'm gonna stand up, stand up, stand up, and slide to a tip. So when I flip the brush, we still have paint on that side. So I'm gonna start on that line that I have here. I'm gonna do a little bit of a wave and then release pressure. Now, if your brush is laying down, you can't stand up really easy without doing this big deal. But if your bristles are doing this and your handle's straight up and down, then it's gonna pop right up for you. So here we are, we're gonna add it together and release pressure and go to a point. This side, I'm gonna do a light wave and then stand up, and go to a tip. And then you're gonna practice this. Practice is gonna make this perfect. It's gonna help you get all that in. The little one stroke leaves we're gonna do at the end wherever we feel like we need them, okay? So I'm gonna just erase this, get it all off so that we're ready. Next time we're gonna use it. Now this is done. I'm gonna have to get a new one because it's got too much paint in it. All right, so we just fold it and have another one ready to go. All right, so now let's put the big leaves, not the big leaves, but the green leaves that we want in here. And as I came around, I'm gonna pick up these two greens again, and then a touch of white, okay? And so what's gonna happen, you're gonna have this so that you can look at it. Let me move it back up here because I want y'all to be looking at this as we're doing this. So I'm gonna come right here and I want it to look like it's coming from underneath. Go to a point on that leaf and I didn't get a nice point. There we go. And then pull the stem into the middle. And do that while it's wet. Don't come back and do it later, okay, guys? I want it to look like it is inside the wet paint, not just added on top. And now I'm gonna come in here, more paint, come in here, and I pick up paint almost every stroke, okay? Can you see that? And I'm gonna pull a stem. Now remember, the stem's from under the flower. Then I can come right in here and put another, 1/2 of it there that time. Let's see where else we need. I want you to think that these are coming off of this big flower and it's the largest one, so I'm pushing down harder and pushing down a little bit harder on here. And I've got it too wiggly, do you see? I need to have it push down and stay down and just have it more of a wave. All right. I keep picking up paint and going in my little cubby. And I did double here. 1, 2, pull the stem. I come back and I still have lots of paint in that loading area. So I'm just gonna pick up, I can actually, let me show you this. I can, on some of these, put the lighter edge on the outside. Okay? So the same thing is gonna flow out. So if you take your fingers and you go like this from the center, and I did the same thing coming down, you can see different directions to lay your leaves, and that's gonna help you. All right, so I have a leaf in here somewhere, and another one on this side. Sometimes when I do these leaves, I start with a V, but these are all gonna be underneath. So there we go. All right, now down around this bud and this one, I have a couple of leaves going. Oops. The good thing about one stroke painting, one of the things that I like is that I can pick up paint and restroke. All right, so if I'm not happy, I just get more paint on my brush and restroke right over what I painted. Don't be taking it off with a paper towel, just restroke it usually, okay? All right, so now we're gonna put a few over here and then we'll be able to go to our next step. All right, so this one kind of went out into the skull up there, and it's going to also be underneath the poppy, but overlapping a little bit of the leaf. Okay, are you looking at your guide to remind yourself? That's really important. All right, a little bit of a wave and a little bit of a wave on that side. And when you pull the stem, it kind of cleans up that extra paint maybe. If you have a lot of extra paint, then I want you to come over to your double loader and kind of blend it in a little bit and not have so much paint on here. Okay, see that extra in there? I can just work it in. And we're gonna pull a stem. That looks like I need a little bit of green here. And you know what, we can do more later, but I'd like to get my bases so that especially if I've got a flower that's gonna be on top of it. Because as I'm creating, this is how I'm laying it out in my head too. I decide later where the little one-stroke leaves go and any other leaves, even if I need another one of the big oak or maple leaves. All right, so let's wash this brush out. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is let's look at our teaching guide again and look at the big poppies that we're gonna be painting. So we do approximately 5 petals. We need on the red some shading. So I have one shading stroke here with Pueblo with the apple red, and the other one we put a little bit of moon yellow on top of that with the apple red. So let me load the brush and we'll see what we're gonna have here as we're loading. Now I've got to make sure that the paper towels dried off some of that moisture on the brush, and I'm going to pick up right there a little bit on one corner of the Pueblo and picking up 2/3 red, apple red and Pueblo. Okay, and we're gonna come right here. And remember, we're very quickly working it in, picking up a little bit more. We just want a lighter shade on the edge to give us a look. All right, so when we're looking at this, right here is where I'm gonna stroke that to make sure that I've got the color I want. And then I can take this edge and add a little bit of yellow to it, just a little bit of yellow. And that would give you this stroke right here, okay? So let me take and wipe this off, but let's practice this right here. So when you're looking at these strokes, you can watch my arrow and it's going to show you the movement. It shows you which direction they head, okay? So what I want to show you here is that my brush handle should be up, my bristles are doing the stroke, I'm following with this lighter corner and the rest of the brush flat. See that? It's flat, and you carefully go around for the shape. And then I can start here or the other side of the stroke to fill in, and you continue around till you have all 5. All right? So the colors that we're going to pick up also are determined by what color the background is and how it's going to show up. All right, so that's going to help you determine how bright you want it or if you want it more muted. Now, so you do the first 5 petals, which we're going to do, and then we lay on 1, 2, 3, 4, a second row on top. Here's the half of the flower, it's a side view, and then we'll put the 2 on the side a little bit lower. So let's go put this up front so we are remembering what we're doing here. And I'm gonna do a couple over here to get started to show you those strokes. Okay, so we're gonna come back here, get fresh paint. All right, and I'm gonna come around. See that Pueblo shows really nice. All right, now the key is not to get carried away on the shape, how large you make this, because if we're too small, then the next row doesn't fit well. And if we're too big, we lose our shape. Now you can see, since I've got Pueblo here and that's not showing up as well. So that's when I would go pick up some yellow and work that in and see how that pops. And I can do another one here. All right, so all I'm worried about is the outside petals because the inside ones are covered when we get through painting here. And they're not strong wiggles like what a lot of times when we do the rose, a rose petal. These are more smooth. All right, so there's the first row of 5. So now I'm gonna go pick out some more red and Pueblo. This is apple red, Pueblo, and maybe so I did more yellow on the inside petals. Okay, so we're gonna just stagger those petals, and I'm not making it too large, which means, guys, that when we're doing this here, we're gonna stay up a little bit more and not push down so hard, or as hard as we did in the first row. All right. And my idea to share with you that will make a difference is that you pick up paint almost every stroke. Okay? So there we are when we put the centers that makes them look like a poppy. Then I'm gonna come over here and do the first stroke, first petal. All right, guys, right here, we're gonna go on top of the leaf, and we're gonna make sure that it's in the back so it's a little bit darker. And then on the, I'm adding the moon yellow and overlapping, okay? Now, I'm going to come right here, and I'll tell you, I do this sometimes if I'm, if I got carried away. I don't want this leaf to be covered. So I'm taking water, and I'm just taking off so this leaf will look like it's on top, okay? It's still gonna have a stem, but I just got this one a little large, all right? So let me put one more side view over here for you, okay? We're gonna have some, see how I keep, let me show you, I keep picking up color and blending it in. So I've got these little pieces over here. And it's only 2 strokes. This one is 1, 2, and I'll pick up a little bit brighter. So it's layers of petals, which makes it look like a bud. Now, what we want to do for this last one here is I'm going to do a side view. Remember I said in the back. Later, we're going to come in here and put the purple. We're going to put dioxazine purple there and give it a bright look instead of black. We just wanted this real rich look. All right, so we're going to come right in here, and I want it to definitely look like you can see into the flower. All right, doesn't that look good? Now, that's a little streaked, so that's when I told you pick up more paint. Work it in, stroke right on top, and fix anything I felt like needed to be fixed, all right? Okay, so let's go for the big flower in the center. And this was just a size smaller, and this was gonna be your large, all right? So I just make sure that you've come down enough that you can add to your piece here if you wanted to put leaves or little small flowers, accents. I'm gonna pick up the yellow, the moon yellow, and I'm gonna put a little Pueblo worked into that also. Okay, now let's come here, and I kind of separate, see they're not wiggled. 1, 2, a little bit more. And every once in a while, I like to pick up the moon yellow and work it in, because that makes it a little bit brighter. Okay, see how it's going on top of, wipe that off, let's do it again. Let's go right on top of that leaf. And one more. So we have 5 on the bottom row. All right, make sure, see, I need to make sure that the red, the apple red is really coating it really good in there, and not so much the edge color. You see that? Which is easy. Look, I can just go back over this and push it out a little bit more. Okay? So see, we've got this nice arch across there. And now I definitely came in with the yellow. And when I put this in here, I have right in here, you don't have to have 4. I decided to go a little bit bigger on one petal. And then I stretch this out over here a little bit. I thought these were fun. I stood in a field of these poppies and I couldn't believe they were real. It was so amazing. They were waist high, and there must have been 1,000,000 of them in the fields we were in. Way bigger than my hand. I'd never seen them in real life. It was really amazing. My granddaughters were all with me running through them. There we go. I took lots of pictures. There we go. So I can just have 3, or I can come in here with a little piece of one. See that? So just see that your size is a little bit bigger. The petals aren't overlapped very much. There we go. All right, so the next step I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come in, if you can see these little guys right here, when we're putting these little fall filler leaves, they have some bright color. So let's go ahead and put that first. That's what I was showing a little bit earlier, is if we come in here with, let's pick those 2 colors up. All right, so I'm going to use my 12. I put the stems in with brown, all right, with the burr number. And what I'm using is yellow ochre and pueblo on this. And I did put some moon yellow, a little bit of moon yellow. So I'm going to pick up the 12 with the yellow ochre and the pueblo, and I'm going to just work right in here. All right, and the burr number stem's going to really show well. Then I can pick up a little bit of moon yellow. Okay. Now, remember what I said here, I got a little bit of red there, is I'm just pulling down here and make sure I've got the color I want. That's the beauty of your teaching guides. All right, and then when I start here, I'm going up smoothly on one side, and then I can touch and pull down smoothly on the other side. So a little bit of wiggle up and then push down and stand up on the other side. So it's a pretty simple stroke on there, but what I did is I also used those colors and a few of the green leaves that I taught you earlier. So if you use the same color on the 3/4 inch brush, you can do those also. All right, so what we're gonna do is come right in here, and here's the one I just showed you. Up, back down, and we're gonna put brown stems in those. We can make a bigger one, and then push hard and stand up. So I could take this brush right now and grab some burnt umber on one corner. Oh, let's come over here. All right, so look, I'm gonna come in. Let's see, that makes it really easy to do that, but let's get the burnt umber. Why don't we come through here? You're gonna like this, and we're gonna put one down in here, and I'm gonna pick up the colors again that I was using. The moon, yellow, yellow ochre, and pueblo, and it's the same stroke. Look at this, it's out, and then we slide back down. But see, the color's not as bright as I want. I'm just going to pick a little bit more. And remember I said you just pick up fresh paint and go right back over it? Well, that works great. And then we're going to bring our stem back in there too. So up and slide back, wiggle out to the point, and then push and slide back. So you just keep using that loading area because that paint's still good. Now this time I am going right over that leaf. And look how nice, even the lighter colors cover if you have the right color in there. See how nice? All right, so I can even come right in here, pick up my burnt umber, and pull the stem up. I can also pull it into these little leaves on this cluster there. All right, so I'm also going to pick up a little bit of burnt umber, and let's grab this side view of the poppy, and let's pull that stem in there too. Let's go ahead and do that to all of those. They're little chisel strokes, and then we pull back. Little chisel, chisel, little strokes, and pull back. This one's underneath, but I can still put a little bit right here. That can be brown or green, and then you wouldn't see them on this side, okay? Let's pick up a few more with the 12, where I'm coming over here, a few more of those same leaves. All right, let's do one more of these little guys over here, is what I did. Wiggle and slide back. See the paint I'm still picking up out of the loading area there? Wiggle out. And it's just a little stem. It's not really a fern. It's just a cluster of leaves that look really good in my wreath here. And then I'm going to pull the stem, burnt umber in, and into each one of these little leaf stems that we have there, okay? So every once in a while, I used a little bit of yellow and a touch of white. Let's see if you like that when we put this on here. See how that made it pop a little bit more? There. And I can just do it even on one side. You see that? Okay, so now I'm going to put a few more here and there. I have some up here. I'm going to put a big leaf there, a big one over here. Let's come way down here. And this is awesome. Remember I said we could put little leaves of color where we needed them at the end? Well, that's when I probably put this little guy, but I'm going to go ahead and at least put one or two right here now. And then I'm going to wash this brush and do the last couple of leaves in the same color. Whatever I have that I'm going around and doing, I do with that, all of them, with the brush as it's all loaded. And work this in, same way we worked it into the 12. I might even, like I said, put some wicker white into the moon yellow and the pueblo, okay? So I'm gonna come right up here, and I think I need another leaf right there, but let's come right here. And this is just like the green leaves that we did, but I'm using a larger brush and pulling the stem right into it. All right, I have another one in here. Needs more yellow. Get moon yellow. And maybe even a touch of white. Now remember, these are the bright fall leaves that I think really popped when I put them in here. It was like, I thought it needed some bright freshness right there. All right, so this is, again, watch this. I've got too much yellow. I need more of the pueblo. Okay, so now look what happens. It's holding the yellow out to the edge And that's the look we needed. There we go. All right. So I'm gonna come right in here. And maybe another one in here. Okay, if you can see here on our wreath, I'm gonna come in and put these little pods. They're little floral pods that are little tight petals. And those were a nice little additive I thought on there. Let me see. Sunflowers, we just kind of make up as we go. Where you've seen something kind of like it. But these are just simple little strokes that pull down. So I want you to see that I'm using the Pueblo and some white, and I'm working it back and forth. See, I'm just dipping the corner. So when I do this stroke, we practice it right here, and we're going to come right in here and practice chisel, pull, chisel, pull, chisel, pull. And so the Pueblo color goes first and the white just tips it, okay? So when we're putting these in here, I decided where I want them. Some of the ones I did on the right side of the wreath, guys, were, they looked like they had more brown in them, because I showed you the brown and the burnt umber and the Pueblo combination up there on your guide. So what I did right in here, let's put one here. So basically, guys, what you want to do is get your shape. We don't have to put our stems, we're just really getting that shape. Got one, I'm gonna do two. I'd like to go for a triangle. So look, 1, 2. I had a little white in it. And then 1, 2, and we need a third one out here somewhere. So I'm gonna put that third one right here. All right. So now on the other side, I had one in here hanging out of the center. Down here, I had maybe one in here. And let's do one in here. Which, if you look, that could be another triangle. So one here, and wherever I have space after I get through with this is where I put all these little pretty little white blossoms. And we're going to have right in here. And that's right on top of that, but when you put all the pretty white color in there, it's gonna really add to it. All right, so don't forget at the end to come back and put those stems in, all right? Because we're gonna do them after we put all these little details. See how I'm picking up the white? Just on the edge, I'm side stroking the white puddle. So I have my Pueblo and side stroke the wicker white. And so you're gonna do that often. So let's go to one of these and show you right here. So I'm gonna start at the top, I'm gonna push and pull, and you can turn your wreath around till it's comfortable for you. So I'm curving them inward. Now I just need to keep coming and picking up white. So when you see me move away from here, I'm just grabbing more white. And you want to see those layers. See that? And that makes a little thistle. Okay, so this is what happens. I'm going to take the burnt umber. I'm going to grab this here and then pull it. So some of these don't have much space, but then some of these have a really nice pull back. But I'm going to do that after I finish my little petals on there. Okay. You see, you touch, pull all the way around, And when you get to the sides, you're curving around, and you don't want to see the outside line of the little round area that I painted. So make sure this slightly covers it out here, and that you keep doing. And I use the same brush. This is a 12, but if you're worried about that, some people like to go down to an 8. All right, so just make sure, so you can tell this one's heading that way and that one's heading this way. Make sure that you have them going in the direction you want by what you pull your first little petals. Can you see that? This one's going facing this way, and that one I'm going to face out. So the first ones go in that direction, and then they start curving. And this gets very comfortable the more that you do, because it's a short little stroke. So you see how many I get done before we have to go get more white. And I don't have to get, I haven't yet picked up any more Pueblo on here. Okay. Now, didn't they add to it? I think they really add to the painting. They made me happy when I saw these when I was looking up flowers, fall colors. And I found these little guys. When I say pods, pods are usually hard, shelled, dried pods that we can put in wreaths and stuff, but these were more of a thistle, okay? Now, this first time I need to go get more Pueblo and then pick up white. Let's slide this up. See where I'm heading on this one? And then we do layers. You want to keep flattening out that tip. All right. Remember what I said, you come out and cover the outside edge. I don't want you to stress about this. Some people spend half a day just putting in a few of these little, and that's fine too. There's a few of these little thistles, but if you get a real comfortable loose stroke, when you're all done, it all looks so pretty. And the bright colors are gonna really, your fall colors are really gonna add to this. Okay, more wicker white, and that time I also picked up more Pueblo. Okay, one more, unless I'm missing one. Okay, all right, let's come right here. And I am gonna turn this around because I want you to see that actually I need this to be facing this way. Okay, and do more white. Okay, so now each one of them need the brown stem. And the last little bit of detail and everything really adds to it. But while I've got this, I wiped off on my paper towel the other paint, and I'm gonna grab this guy and pull it back. Right here, I'm gonna pass the flower and make the stem come there. And pull the stem across the green leaf, or you can make it go behind it. And you saw that I already did this guy and this guy. I'm gonna put some flowers that cover that stem's not going. Let's turn it around. All right, so we put the light colored leaves. these little pods, which, you know what, they could be different. The thistle could be a different color too, but and this one worked perfect with what I was planning. Now, we also have this other fun flower I found, and this is the base of it. So there are these little, kind of like little pods of baby's breath or whatever I've done before, or yadro. And so I wanted to see how this holds all these little cute blossoms, these blossoms that I did. All right, so maybe I'll just go ahead and show you this on here before I go any further, so that you're gonna see I can just jump into the flower after we've done the green. So I want you to follow this pattern, because I have some hanging in here underneath and some of these coming on the side of the wreath. But what I did was I did these little green leaves. So if you see this right here, they come right in around here, see that? So I put this first, this little stroke, which is right here, is your happy green and your sap green. I picked up the wrong color there. All right, so then what happens, they're gonna all fit right in here, up underneath before I add this green. But I wanted you to see those stems really good on top of here. And so I wanted to make sure that I did the stems alone so that you could see where they go. All right, so let's erase that. And then what I'm gonna show you is that little blossom, because it's a simple little blossom, but I think it really, if you look at this picture now, the wreath now, you can see it needs bright. And when I did the white, it really set it all off. Okay, so be sure, like I'm showing you, use your eraser and get it gone before we go to the next step. All right, so I am just gonna pick up my 8 and show you that I'm picking up white. And this is wicker white and moon yellow. I'm working that all in, and I need really good white. I actually used yellow ochre a lot too, so you can put some yellow ochre with the moon yellow to get the good color here to make it really stand. And sometimes yellows, since they're transparent, you might not see it as well, but you could see right here where to start and do a stroke. All right, then I'm gonna move it around, do a little stroke. See my handle of my brush is straight up and down, and turn it around and do the stroke. So when you're putting all those together, they make a cute little flower. So practice is important to practice, and this is going to remind you that we want those stems to look really good like that. So let's decide where those stems are going to be. One way that helps me to see where I'm going to bring it is I want this over here, and then I can have another one that's coming here, and then the little stems are going to come up. So if I draw that in there kind of, and it's kind of like a bell shape, all right, and you kind of do that to decide how big you want it. I put one more that came down here, because it really gives interest and it gives that white pretty pop, all right? And then I did have, just in some of this area, look, I just put the little stem where you don't see all the detail, but the stem's there so you know that the flowers are connected to something, all right? And then some places I just put the flower heads and decided if I needed stems to come to them. Okay, I'm gonna move some of this away so we're all fresh and ready over here. And I'm gonna get my 2 script liner. So you take the 2 script liner, I'm gonna get the sizing out of that. And I'm gonna pick up, it's got a little bit of water in this brush. This is the only brush really I use water sometime. And this is important. Many people have said to me, that why can't we use the floating medium? The floating medium gives fluff to this paint, the thickness. So on a line or a thin job that we want to paint or something here, a stroke, we don't want it to be really thick. We want to take and be able to stand and touch it down and lift, lift. And if it's thick from floating medium, you don't get the same movement, okay? So I can do that on a separate foam plate, or I can do it just like I did it. All right, so I want to show you, I'm going to take this 8, and I'm going to, just like we practiced a minute ago, I'm going to pick up the 2 colors, and I'm going to show you the difference in this one here. I want to take and make these little strokes into a circle, like it was almost like a flower. Okay. So I'm going to come right here, and it's better to stroke this. Remember I told you that's the difference now than to try to make it around the leaves, because some of these you want them to be right in the middle of this. So I pick up green, the sap green each time. Okay. And so you just want them to look like these great like stems that are going to have these pretty blossoms on them. All right. So the key is it all came from one spot right there, and they're separated because the blossoms are going to be separated. So don't have it like a ton of grass coming different ways. It's actually coming to one spot. Like when I show you how to do an umbrella, if you've ever had me show you that. We're coming from, this would be the stem of the umbrella. All right, so let's see. I have another one or 2 over here. So here's the stem. This is your 2 script liner. It's inky. So I made it inky, and then I'm going to pull it, and it goes behind. So there we are. And every once in a while, some of these I might take, like I told you before, and if there's room where the stem might show, we can paint the stem later. Some of this depends on if we're going to see it. So our little 5 petals at the bottom. And see, I like it when it just goes over a blossom or a leaf that's underneath. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so make sure that you make this, the little stems that come out of it, make sure that you put them so they show. So the color might be lighter or darker. Okay, I think that's enough. And we're going to pull the dark green. So I do the first 2. Remember what I said, we can have a little bit of bright green. See, these are curving to the left, and the others are curving to the curving to the right. All right, so right from the middle. Okay. I like these flowers. I'd never painted them before, so I thought they were really fun and that they were going to add to the design. Now the chalk sometimes makes the paint strokes sputter, so I make sure I make it really inky, and it'll go right over the chalk. Okay, so let's do those little flowers I just did with you, and I think you'll like using the 8 or the 10 to make them just a little bit smaller. Now remember what we're going to do. We're going to work right here. We're going to pick up the white and the yellow ochre, wicker white and yellow ochre. And let's get a clean spot here. All right, wicker white, yellow ochre, and moon yellow. Now I have a good spot to keep picking up paint right there with some more white over here. Okay. Now on the top of these, what I want you to see is sometimes, ooh, need a little bit more dark. Sometimes I'm going to do a little full blossom, and sometimes I'm just going to do little bits. Can you see that? Little, and they're going to look like they're overlapping a little bit. See the bright white? We need that bright white every so often. See, watch this. A little touch, little touch, little touch, and then stronger petals. Now, some of them need to pop out here a little bit, like up here. And then I can flip the brush and let the white show a little bit. Okay? And then we put a few centers in there. Now what I'm finding out is I like the yellow ochre and the white stronger here. So, see how they're a little spaced apart? They're not like your 5-petal flower that we normally do. Then I tap, 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 little taps to make it look like the flowers peeping from underneath. All right. Okay. And this one over here, we're just going to keep making all these little guys. I spread it out just a little bit. You can also just go along the outside edge here and get my shape, and then come back with a couple of the blossoms on top. But it looks good to see light in between them. Don't worry about making it really solid. Sometimes you want them to. All right, and I did do this one a little bit lighter on the other one, and some of these others are bigger clusters. See, that made it easier for me if I just see where do I want these little pieces to go. And then we'll fill in a few blossoms. Layering makes it look really natural. Being able to layer a few. And I think every once in a while I came over here and just got a little bit of Pueblo in between. Okay. Now I did the one over here, and then I started filling in our blossoms, guys. And so after we do this, we have some fun details to add. And I'm sure I've told you before, but when you have to not look at the chalk because I want to wipe it off, and sometimes I smear my flowers by doing that. So let it dry, and then the chalk, you just wipe it with a paper towel and take it right off. Okay, see how pretty it looks when it's overlapping? All right, so now what I'm gonna do occasionally is I'm gonna come right in here and maybe put a cluster with a little bud. And this big leaf probably can use some more on it. And every piece is gonna look different, so the key is not to say, oh, that isn't exactly where Donna put hers. If you have something you wanna cover up and what people say is, I don't like that spot right there, that leaf didn't turn out like I want it, just remember, that's where I'd put one of these little teeny clusters of flowers. See, my leaf got big, so I can just add to it, even though it's not in this one right here, in that little stem. All right, so right in here, it needs these little blossoms. And I can put some out here. I did put a lot more blossoms in areas that were blank. And some people like to just put little dabs, but every once in a while you need to have it turn into a blossom for it to look right, okay guys? So I start out with, remember I talked about a triangle? 1, 2, here's a triangle, I make a third blossom there. And then I can choose to maybe put a couple of little side buds. And remember, I've got those little dark green leaves that we can add, 1-stroke leaves. Right here's a lot of green, or background, okay? If this starts drying up, we're under these bright lights, then I would squeeze out some fresh white. And you can see the big spot there. So I'm going to put a couple in here. Right in here. Now I get excited to get to the point where I can start putting the centers that make it look like a poppy, the color. All right. And I just continue around, adding some more of these here around. And then what I say we're gonna finish with, some little leaves, 1-stroke leaves. So I'm gonna wash the brush, and there is a practice on here where we're just gonna do the slider. There's a 1-stroke leaf, and I was making these all little teeny bit of citrus green on here. Let me move this over here so y'all can see it. Okay, so I'm gonna push down at an angle and stand up. Push and stand up. And then what happens with that is you have to have the pressure. You have to have the pressure before it looks like a leaf. So watch this. I'm gonna touch, push, that's the pressure, and stand up to a point. Now I'm gonna put, let me move this out of the way. I'm gonna put just solid sap green. Now look, I have one that's a point and 2 on the sides. So I'm gonna show you that in a couple of other locations. Like right here, I can put 1 here. But look, out here I can do 1, so push, slide, and see the trio there? And you pull your stems back. But every once in a while, see I have a spot like this, I just need 1. And then I could put a few into in here, even without stems, see that? And that really makes that finished look up there. And every once in a while, I pull a stem in there. Okay, so, and in this area, there again, I can put right on top of that big leaf because it got bigger than I wanted. I can put a few leaves. But out here, watch, 1, 2, 3, and then you pull the stem. A few leaves in here, 1, 2, 3 out here. So isn't that kind of fun? I just go around and put them wherever I feel like it needs to have a few extra leaves, but not usually onesies. All right, so what I want to show you, I even put a few out on the wreath area just to warm it up a little bit. And I want to do the centers of the poppy. Okay, so before I put the centers on the little white flowers, I'm going to turn this upside down so I can work on this purple right in front of you. I'm going to use dioxazine purple, which I don't have, so I'm going to go ahead and put it on my foam plate. And we're going to use the flat brush, so I'm going to use, it shows you right here again, you can follow. See, we're going to put the purple in here, dioxazine purple with a chisel edge. So if you keep that in front of you, you can see. Let me clean our brushes so we don't have any of that paint drying up on them. And what I'm going to use is, I used a 12 on the worksheet, but you might feel more comfortable with a little bit smaller brush. So let me use the 8 or the 10. It's a 10. It's a 10. All right, so see, I'm going to pull that. Now it really looks purple there. Now what's going to happen is I like to do the center first. So I'm going to be on the chisel. And don't be wimpy and just put a little bit. We want a lot of paint on here. So on the chisel, my little finger's steadying me. I'm just going to make some pieces that go out. Right here, solid. And then some that get a little bit higher there. One of the things I like to do is when there's a split, have the purple come like it's in the center of the one below. And I think that really adds to it. So let's get some more purple. And I really like these side views because underneath the poppy you see some of this purple or black, licorice looking, that would be showing under here. And then what I did is put a little bit in some of that piece back there that might show. I do this sometimes on pansies too. All right. So when that dries, I might come back and add a little bit more. See a little bit there and the crack there. And this last one right here. Okay, so now to finish this, I'm going to take a little bit of, use this handle. And what I did was on the centers of these, I put some yellow ochre and some red, just bright red. So let's pick up a little bit of yellow ochre and we're going to dot with the handle of the brush. It needs to be fresh, so this isn't dry. If it was dry, I would want to squeeze some more out so that I'm having a very fresh dip dot. See, fresh, see how nice. Wherever I see centers, maybe that's the only 2 centers that are really showing. 1, 2, and I think I put a few little guys in here. All right, and you might see a little bit over here. Okay, so now what's going to happen is I'm going to get this fresh red. And this is apple red. And the apple red's going to make this whole poppy pop, all right? So I just kind of put that right over some of the yellow ochre. Okay, so now we want to turn it around. There we go. So, last little details. I sit here and look at it and say, does it need a curly Q? What does it maybe need? On these, I'm going to pick up the dark green, and I put with the tip of the number 2 script liner and just put little dots in here, not the handle of the brush, because that ends up being too big. And I'm going to go all around each one of them. I'm just going to show you a few really quick, and I'll go around and finish them all up, and it'll be ready to dry and hang. Now you can put a sealer on these, or you can hang them if it's got any kind of shelter without any sealer, because it's got sealer in it. But we have great outdoor sealers that you can always put on your pieces at Plaid. So see how pretty that really pops out, those flowers. I went through and did a few little details in my leaves with some of those burnt umber stems that we show you on the teaching guide how to do. And so you can come in here, but you got to kind of let it dry. See how it shows now because it's dry. And add more detail to the leaves, or add some more colors if you want to. So wasn't that fun? All right, I brought in the finished original piece, and I want you to look really quick at all the blossoms and how I put the stems inside the leaves to finish our piece. I bet when you looked at this wreath, you thought, wow, that is a lot of different elements. Well, wasn't it fun that as we did each element and each stroke, it was simple strokes, and then we layered from the back to the front, and when it's all done and you stand back and look at it, you're like, wow, I did it. So that's going to be the fun part for you as you finish your wreath. I'm excited for you for that. And that's what I felt when I finished it. I even said, oh, I love that one. I also want to invite you to plaidonline.com/Let's Paint, where you will be able to find those wreaths I've been sharing with you in all the shapes and the wonderful Let's Paint Wreath of the Month kit. So you will have everything you need to paint the wreaths all year long with me. So when you finish painting your October wreath, please share it on our Facebook group, Let's Paint with Plaid, and use the hashtag Let's Paint Challenge. So until next time, let's paint.